Here on the upper right-hand corner. Okay, this is where you would go to start entering any forms or any templates that you would want to use within Abacus. As you can see here, after I click on the forms, I am able to see the forms library here from within, and specifically my Abacus. Okay, so for the example that we're going to do today, we're simply going to go through my thank you letter, my firm thank you letter. I'm going to show you how easily it is to create this this particular form and designing it. Okay, so as simple as just making sure that the merge fields are properly inserted into the form that you're going to design, and then with a few click of a button, after that you can go get the matter that you need and double click on the form, and as simple as that you would have your forms created. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the process on how simple it is to do a form generation. Okay, so after you're set up within your forms generation forms library, you're simply going to go into your add, and this will try to go fish out anywhere within your tree directories out there, okay, the form that you need. So depending on the folder where you have the form that you're going to try to design or edit with the right merge field, make sure you grab that. I'm going to go get it from my folder system, and I am going to see that I cross it over into the, so I would highlight my form. In this case, it's this one that I want, my thank you letter, and I'm simply then just going to click open. Okay. Once you do that, it's going to ask you if you want to copy it over into your forms library, and the answer is yes. It tells you the location where it originally is, and then it's asking you if you want to copy or move it, and in this case, I'm going to copy it. Okay. When you hit copy, you get this forms library pop-up that has a lot of the information, obviously, regarding that particular form. Okay, anywhere from the form ID, which if you have a thank you letter already in there, in this case I already have one, I'm going to obviously change the form, make sure obviously you're not repeating the names, just like a regular document would. And in this case, I'm just going to call this a U2, a thank you to, right? After that, you see on the folder system that is being set up. In my case, I have a general folders, a category, but you can see that at any given time, you could have placed it in any one of your different practice areas that you might have within your firm, okay? Having said that, obviously, then it's just a matter of filling in the rest of these fields that would be specific to the form you're about to create. You can obviously choose the type of form that is going to be, so that every time that you link it to one of your matters or cases, it'll be linked as the specific type, okay? So you don't have to every single time maybe call it a different type of document that you're linking. It's always going to be the same, and just make it more structure when it comes to that. You're also going to have, if you're determining the merge fields that you can use that are going to be containing control, that's going to be under here under the ALF file. For today's example or demonstration, we use the regular Abacus ALF, okay, and I'll walk you through as to see the importance of the ALF file. And obviously that's going to depend on the type of document that you, or the form that you are obviously trying to copy over to a library, depending on the practice area. If it's a family law one, of course, you use the family.alf, and we'll talk about what ALF is a little bit later on when we get to it, okay? So simply put, after you get the pop-up here, just hit done, and that will automatically insert the form into the location that you have. And in this case, I have it on the general forms. It's already highlighted for us. And it's just a matter after that, it's just a matter of designing it. So you would have it highlighted and then just hit design. When you hit design, it's going to generate in your Word. And for this particular example, I have this this section at the top here that has the myfirm_label1 information. I specifically wanted to show you this because I wanted to make sure that you are identifying your firm in Abacus as obviously as my firm label. If you haven't done that, I can walk you through later on how to do that. In my case, if I ever wanted to put our name, Abacus Data Systems within anywhere in the content of your form that you're generating, the merge field that you would use would be myfirm_label1. Okay, of course, a lot of people might already have a letterhead in place that they won't need in this case, but I just needed to let you know as far as understanding how to identify your firm as the My Firm, so that way you can actually insert it as a merge field into some of your future documents, okay? If I go back into my Abacus, I'm going to walk you through how easily that would have been done. You simply need to make sure that you're adding your firm's name as a regular name, right, in the names database. Just add a new name, enter the information, right? When you're doing this, you enter the information of your firm. After you complete doing that, of course, you would save it. Then you would go into your files, setup, My Firm, and you will designate or identify your firm name after you look for it, like I have it already highlighted, and then you would hit select. After you identify your firm's name, now you can use those merge fields when it comes to your forms. So now, if I go back to my document that I was working on, every time you're entering My Firm _ label 1 as a merge field, it'll populate your firm's information. And then, of course, the same thing goes with the label 2, 3, and 4, which is part already of your address that you might be entering in that name record that you create, okay? So the next step in this particular case is I'm going to show you how easily it is just to insert certain merge fields, okay? Let's say in this case I wanted to take the date, and instead of having this date, obviously that is from back on December 20th, 2015, I wanted to insert today's date. So in the top here, there's the Insert Merge Field icon. Just click on that, and that would give you this pop-up window that has all the merge fields that can then be inserted in here. So for this one specifically is a Today field. Okay, as you can see, I just typed in today, and it comes up. Your next question should be, well, how do you know which merge field to use? Obviously, you're going to come to the conclusion of which one to use, and I'll show you that later on, step by step, on the out file, how to determine which one to use. In this case, it's going to be Today Text. You simply highlight it, hit Insert, and then you close it out. So now you use Inserted a Today Text for that field. Every time you pull up that form, this form is going to have today's day on it. So next up, we have the actual address of the client, okay? If I would identify this as an actual merge field to use, which one would it be? And I already have one in place, and that's going to start with a prefix of a client. It's a client's information, and it's actually client_1 address. Again, I'm going to explain to you how I arrived on using these specific merge fields, and later on when I go over the out files. The one that gets really overlooked is the client_1 dir field as a salutation. A lot of us, when we're entering our name records, we tend to neglect, I would say, or overlook the dir field of salutation. We fill everything else out, the information, the name, the address, the telephone numbers, the email. But for whatever reason, this one's one overlooked. And obviously, I just want to point out that as long as you don't fill in the appropriate the appropriate fields within your name records, then obviously they won't translate over to your form. So you need to understand that whatever you're inputting into those particular name records and those fields in those name records is what's going to output into your forms. So clearly, if there's nothing in the field, there's going to be a blank here in your form as well. Next up, we have the one for file.matters. Normally, when it starts with a prefix of a file, it's referring to the name of the matter or case. In this case, file space matter is referring to the name of the particular matter or case. If I were to use the attorney responsible for this particular name or case that I'm going to choose later on, or any particular matter, you would do file space attorney. If you were to use a specific bar number, okay, it would be file space attorney space bar space and then number. So you get the idea more or less as far as the prefix are working, and I'll get a lot more deeper into that later on when we go over the out files again. And then, of course, upon conclusion, and then when you get into the content of the body of the email, you can also use certain dates that are calendared as an event under your particular case or matter. In this case, I want a specific date, right? So I can, if it's a date that's already within the particular matter or case, I can simply just select it from the calendar, from the events under the events tab under my matter or case. So this one would be event underscore when. Okay? So as simple as that, I've simply put together right away, I've inserted the merge field, and after you're done with that, all you're going to do is click on the save button to save the template. The template is going to be saved, right? And now you would, if I could go back to your forms library, it'll be right there, the form, the form, my firm, thank you letter 2. This is the one you want, okay? How simple is it now to go over and just grab a particular matter, or I should click on the matter to set forth the information so that it can fill out the form, okay? So all you're doing is you're opening up any particular matter that you want. Just go to your matters icon, grab on the matter, the case of the matter that you need, double click on it, and it'll open up the window. If you want to choose a specific date or event, right, that you've used, just make sure you highlight the date of the event like I'm doing right now, and just say that this is something that I want to include within the body of the of that particular form that I have, which in this case I do want an event when, and this is the date that I want. Just make sure you then go back to your forms, okay, and just double click. Or you could just highlight it and then fill form, and it'll fill out the form. Or just double click on it, and it'll start generating the information. So when it comes out, this is your final product. You see that it has all the information there. See how it has Abacus Data System at the top, because that's what I chose to show you as an example. You more than likely will have your letterhead. It says the today's date, the client one address, obviously the dear field, the name of the matter of the name of the matter or case, and then of course the event when that we chose from our time. So in a nutshell, you can then just take this, right, and just save it as, use the Microsoft Word add-in, which is going to be under your File, Add-in, and when you hit Save and Close, it'll give you that prompt so it'll link it to specifically to the matter that you've been working on already. What normally happens in this case, it just goes through. Right now it's not responding. Let me just rerun it really quickly. And once I rerun it, I'll just show you the end effect of that. So the idea is that these forms can be generated at any given point with any other matters that you choose or cases. So it's just, again, a simple click of the button, then come back in here. I have my matter open in the background. You can't see it. I'm just going to double click on it again so it regenerates it. Okay? Then you go back again to your file. Just go to the add-in, say close the Microsoft this time. This is what should have happened originally, is where now it's obviously storing your document, right? It knows to store it under your local, well, in my case, under my C drive, Abacus Docs. That's because, I don't know if you're very informed, but under user preferences, you're able to choose where you want to send your files and your templates and your forms. Those of you that are in APC will more than likely put it in your X drives, right? But everybody else can then choose what drive they want to enter it in. I have a naming convention where I'm choosing it to say the last name, and then the first name of the actual case or matter. Then I have the document number's name within Abacus of the form, and then the date. So when I save it, it'll give me the prompt on how I'm linking it or the full path of the document. If I was obviously linking it to exactly the Ortiz, which happens to be the client that I used the form for, right? Tells you the full path of where it is, the short name, right, for that particular document, which I can edit right now if I needed to. I could put thank you letter and then put for Ortiz. And then, of course, is linking it to a specific name. Is going to link it also as well to a specific matter case. You also have the ability, if you didn't choose so, to change the type here. Remember, we have the option to preset it so that you already know what type of document this would be. But if you didn't, you can always come in here as long as you have your list set up already where you've edited and structured and lined out, simplified as much as you can. You can then choose what type of form so that when it links it to your matter or case, you can find it a lot easier under your Documents tab. So let me just close out of this, go back to my documents, and if I go and I sort by date here at the top, this is the letter that I just did right now. I double click on it, and it's been linked to that particular matter. So that, in a nutshell, again, is the process of how easily it is to generate the forms and then link them to the appropriate matter or case. The other thing that I wanted to make sure I showed you was that how did I determine, how did I come to the conclusion of using the appropriate ALF files? If I go, I have my matter open here, or your case open, use it as an example when you're about to generate these particular forms. You can go to Documents and go to Setup ALF File. Under Setup ALF File, you would notice also that there's always these helpful messages that come to the top. Okay, in this case, the ALF stands for AbacusLaw Format, and its files that control the records and fields to output for form generation. Okay, the most simple forms, in the case of what I'm using, should work fine with using abacus.alf. But you can also create a specific ALF file for the specific form. Okay, what do I mean by that? Once I clicked out of that, notice how I have my abacus.alf, and then I have specific ones for all my different types of practice areas out there. If some of you have purchased PALs, which are Practice Area Legal Solutions, right? Those PALs specifically will come with specific name streams, specific matter streams, intake forms, as well as their ALF documents in this section. So you can see why there's one for bankruptcy, civil litigation, criminal, estate planning, family, so forth and so on. I'm going to show you an example as to why this is important, because obviously if you're using a form that requires a specific law, right, let's say family law, you would need the specific name types that are being linked to that particular matter, so that it knows to look for an adoptee, for example, or it knows to look for someone who's the spouse or the opposing counsel of the spouse, okay? So that's why you would need to understand the difference of obviously which ALF file you're using. For the purpose of the demonstration I did today, I'm simply going to click on the abacus.alf, okay, and I'm going to hit open. When I hit open, this is the pop-up that comes up, okay? Actually, before I do that, let me just show you something. I wanted to see you can see the link names here. Go back to my setup. Okay. In this case, I have as my primary matter, of course, the one in the background here, the one I'm going to use as a test. In this example, I have for an abacus.alf, all the names being linked to the matter are going to be either adjusters, clients, defendants, opposing party, attorneys, plaintiffs, respondents, obviously, and petitioners, okay? When I do hit test and I try to search to see what values are going to be populated, I'm going to get a lot of the ones that obviously are depending in this case with some of the link types that I already have here. Okay, so if I go down the line, there you go. Okay, let's run the test. Okay, when I run the test over, look at my browser is somewhere hiding here. Sorry, guys. Okay, when I run the test, look how automatically some of my fields are being populated as far as the value is concerned. I'm using this particular matter case as my example as to how see which fields will be populated. In here, the prefix of a client exists, and I see the information already that's being linked to the matter, in this case, Victor Ortiz. So if I didn't have, under my matter, certain linked names attached to the matter, then obviously this population would be empty. Notice how I have Victor Ortiz linked as the client to this matter. Hence why when I pull up the matter information, my client prefix and my information has values already. Same way, when you choose the field, when you choose the merge field, that's going to be one of these, it's obviously, now it's easier to determine because you see the client in front of it as the prefix. If I scroll down the line, okay, you will notice I don't have any client 2 information, client 3, because I don't have anyone linked as a second client or a third client. I have this information for contact. I have information as courts. Why? Within the fields, within the matter, there is Santa Monica Court. So if I eventually wanted to add a merge field that would say the court's information at Santa Monica Courthouse, I could insert either court_branch, or I could have inserted court, whatever has the name again, here, say court_name. So in essence, this can help you or aid you identify which merge fields to use so that you can insert it in the forms, okay? And the one that you want to use, again, going back to how did I know to come to the conclusion that I was using today's text, I would simply start typing the word today. And when that came up, I noticed that today's text, the one I wanted was, in the format that I wanted was May 5th, 2017, okay? How about if I wanted to show the day, the actual day of the week, Friday, and then maybe a space, dash, space, and then the actual date as listed here? Well, I would have inserted my today date first as a merge field, then I would have space, dash, space, and then I would have inserted another merge field, today text. So that way, you would have the information you need. When it came to the client's information of putting the address, how did I come to the conclusion that it was client_1 address? Okay? In that instance, I noticed when I came in here and I took a look at all the information that was valued as far as each one of the merge fields, I noticed that there was one that actually had the information, the name of the client, the address right underneath it, and then of course the city, state, and zip. If this one didn't exist, how would have identified which merge field to use? Well, the information that I want, I could have used the client_1 name. Then I could have used the client_1 label 2. And then last but not least, I would have chosen the client_1 city, state, and zip. So instead of using the client1 address as I have in the form, I could have used these 3 to insert them as an option. Okay? So then again, the difference between choosing someone as a general abacus.alf versus choosing, and I just want to show you this really quick, versus choosing maybe one that is not necessarily, that is more specific to say, let's say family law. If I go into my documents and I go to my setup ALF again, and this time I choose family as the open type of ALF that I want to use, notice the names that are being linked to the matter is going to be different. It's not just your client, plaintiff, and defendant, right? It has more than that. It has the biological mom, the biological dad, the child, the employer, the judge, the respondent, the spouse. So clearly, each specific practice would require one of these more specific ALFs that are going to give us the option of the merge fields that can be controlled and then, of course, contained within the forms that we're creating. That concludes our training. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to read over some of these questions and see if we have a little bit of time. I can't seem to get a hold of this. Hold on. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so one of the questions is, does it work with WordPerfect? Yes, it does work with WordPerfect. Can we get a transcript of this webinar? Yes, you can get a transcript of the webinar. So you would have to know what you've entered in each particular name or matter. Well, the answer is yes to that, of course. Normally speaking, whatever fields are within the name records and then the matter records that we have, ultimately they can obviously turn and create it as a merge field into the form. Whatever you're entering in those name records and fields or matters within the fields where the matters and names can then eventually obviously be put into a form through the merge fields that already exist. So let's see what else. The first one, how do we add merge? How do we add merge fields when the specific fields that we are looking for is not on the list, such as social security number and date of birth? So as long as they've been created in the database structure and then inserted into certain the matter fields or the matters database or names database, then they can be pulled into the form as well. That's it. I think that's all the questions I had.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We will be sending out an email with a video and transcript of this webinar on Tuesday of next week. Thank you.